The fifth strongest hurricane to ever hit the U.S. And it was the fourth storm to hit Louisiana in a single calendar year. The extensive damage just devastating communities in southeast Louisiana. Some people tell us this was the last storm they'll ride out, and others are hopeful, promising they'll build back better than ever.
And while sheetrock and roofs can be replaced, our neighbors cannot. In total, 13 people have died in our state in the week since Ida made landfall.
Yeah, those numbers will likely increase as you track its path to the northeast. Of course, at least 50 people have died in the northeast from the flash floods and the tornadoes and the mudslides. And the latest death was a lineman from Arkansas here to restore power, according to Howard Transportation.
Marley Menser was a lead driver out of their Little Rock office. He had been with the company for 17 years. He leaves behind a wife and children. We are so thankful to all of the linemen working around the clock to get our power back. Well, an update tonight on a series of stories we've broken here on Eyewitness News. Since Ida hit, 12 residents in nursing homes and senior living facilities have died.
Facilities have moved residents and then moved them again as they seek better conditions. Some families still can't find their loved ones. Erica Ferrando is following the latest for us. Erica.
Well, hundreds of senior citizens were brought here to the convention center this weekend after their senior living facilities were forced to close. The city of New Orleans evacuated 10 senior apartment homes in the city, 8 yesterday and 2 on Friday after post-Ida sweeps. The city was making wellness checks and deemed them unfit, ordering them to close. The city said they also discovered 5 deaths at these facilities. Those are under investigation by the coroner's office. Without power, of course, they didn't have air conditioning, and the city said the facilities struggled to provide medical attention. The New Orleans Fire Department, EMS, and Regional Transit Authority helped evacuate the residents from those apartments to bring them to the convention center before being taken to shelters in northern Louisiana. Others had to be taken to the hospital, and some had their own transportation or family to stay with. We stopped by the Flint Goodridge apartments where 2 residents died. I spoke with a woman who didn't want to share her name, but she was picking up her sister who was a resident there. She was trying to get her belongings. Take a listen.
They had no evacuation plan whatsoever. Everybody has a business knows better. You need evacuation plan in the office, in the hallway, by the exit doors. Come on. They just left them to fend for themselves, elderly people. I am very upset. I came today to get her belongings, and they would only give her medications. They would not give her her clothes, her TV, her jewelry.
And here is a list of the 10 apartments that were evacuated. The deaths took place at Nazareth Inn, Christopher Inn, Annunciation Inn, and 2 at Flint Goodridge. We spoke with Councilman Jay Banks this afternoon. He walked through Flint Goodridge yesterday. He said it was incredibly hot in there. He saw part of the ceiling caving in, and of course he was very frustrated and upset. You'll hear from him coming up at 6. Erica Ferrando, Eyewitness News, back to you.
All right, Erica, thank you. And the Louisiana Department of Health is releasing new information tonight about the conditions of that Independence warehouse.
As you remember, more than 800 residents from 7 nursing home facilities were crammed inside that building, a warehouse to wait out the storm. In total now, 7 have died since those facilities were evacuated. The state has since ordered them to close, but the warehouse had been evaluated before the storm hit.
And the State Department of Health said in part today, quote, upon 2 in-person site visits prior to landfall, it did appear that from a facility standpoint, the minimum necessary components to provide a safe sheltering environment for a very short period of time were met. But, quote, conditions clearly deteriorated following the storm.
The state also said that residents were in varying stages of undress and were not adequately attended to. There were also piles of linens and trash on the floor and an overwhelming stench of urine and feces throughout the building. Hospitals that received the patients told the state that it was clear they had been neglected.
We are watching a system in the tropics now.
Now, it is not expected to be a major storm, but it could bring rain to our area. We don't need any of that, but let's get the latest from your local weather expert, Alexandra Cranford, who, by the way, is celebrating a birthday today.
Thanks, Karen.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. It's a little weird. There are a lot of people, it seems, who have birthdays this time of year, and it's always a little bit dicey. Are we going to be here? Are we going to be gone? What's going to be happening? And in this case, of course, we're a week out from Ida, and we are watching a little something near Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. But as you heard, we're not expecting this to have the kind of conditions that Ida did last week to develop into a major hurricane. There is a major hurricane, that is Larry, and you can see that really well defined out here in the Atlantic. Now, Larry is going to take this path off to the north, so that'll be a really good thing, especially for land areas. Even the Caribbean islands shouldn't have to deal with this, and it may even pass east of Bermuda. But of course, the one that you're watching, I'm sure, is this one. It's Invest 91L, and it's right now just a very loose, low pressure area near Yucatan, and it is expected to drift to the north. But we've been talking about how it will face a somewhat hostile environment in the Gulf, and for that reason, look at these models. They're just kind of all over the place. Some of them have it fizzling, some are kind of bringing it into the central Gulf. What we're really expecting from this, and again, it might stay very messy, but let me just show you one model. This is the GFS. Look at the rain. It will probably surge north with some moisture from, the tropics, so we will have some rain, maybe especially Tuesday and Wednesday. But watch what happens toward the end of the week. It probably will not be able to develop, even though it does have a low chance of development. And then we get a little front, so that will dry us out even if we do have rain at the middle of the upcoming week. So just the big bullet points right now. We're just watching it at this point. It will have those things to face in the Gulf that will make it a little harder to develop than it normally would at this point in the year. And then again, we're looking mainly for some rain midweek, maybe an inch or two for most of our spots. We will see. Still a little bit up in the air on that. In a few minutes, I'll be back in about 10 plus minutes, and I'll go in detail with some different models and what we can expect as we head into Labor Day tomorrow and then into the rest of this week.
All right, Alexandra, thank you very much. Linemen, of course, in town because hundreds of thousands of people in Southeast Louisiana are still without power.
And as Danny Monteverdi tells us, Entergy says the damage was some of the worst it has ever seen. That's why there are longer delays in some areas to get the lights back on.
Yeah, that's right. They've got linemen all over the city, but tonight the city is a bit of a patchwork. We're here in Lakeview on Navarre Avenue, just off of Canal Boulevard. Some parts of Lakeview have the lights on tonight. This neighborhood in particular still does not, so it's far from uniform about where the lights will be on tonight and where they are right now. Let's take a look at some video from earlier today of those crews at work. Now, they have been out all over Southeast Louisiana today and in recent days, working to repair power lines, poles, transformers, and, as we said, those down lines. Now, at the peak of the outage, there were 902,000 customers in the state with no power. Now, 349,000 have it back, but that means 553,000 do not. Entergy Louisiana CEO Philip May says crews have been able to assess 100% of the system, and what they found was damage worse than they imagined, including more than 30,000 downed power poles.
That far exceeds the number of poles in Hurricane Laura, Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Rita, Hurricane Ike. In fact, that number is higher than all of the poles damaged or destroyed in Katrina, Delta, and Zeta combined.
And now, of course, that's just one issue, those power poles that were knocked down. There are lines down and transmission towers that were knocked down. So again, a big mess to clean up in the past recent days, today, and in the coming days. Now, we are checking with Entergy to see if the neighborhoods expected to come back online today are on schedule. And if you'd like to find out when your neighborhood is expected to be on, head over right now to WWL-TV.com. We have a full list on our website. Reporting live in Lakeview, Danny Monteverdi, Eyewitness News.
All right, Danny, thank you. We also have an update on power restoration for Cleco customers. More than 78,000 people now have electricity in St. Tammany and Washington parishes. At 2:30, Cleco provided an update on the places that are expected to have power by the end of the day, and they are all in St. Tammany Parish. The linemen are working today in Slidell, Abita Springs, Covington, Lacombe, Madisonville, and Mandeville.
And checking in on the outages in the Washington St. Tammany Electric Co-op, there are just over 9,000 people without power in St. Tammany Parish, about 2,600 in Tangipahoa, and just under 1,500 in Washington Parish. These do seem to be getting fixed fairly quickly. We also have a crew in Lafitte tonight. That area, like so many others, was greatly impacted by this storm.
Jalissa Garza from our Tegna family has been there today and joins us now with more on that. Jalissa?
That's right. We're here in Lafitte, and as you said, it was really hard hit by Hurricane Ida. You can see a lot of the damage done to these homes, but something I will say, everyone that I've spoke to today in good spirits, positive, taking it day by day and helping each other out. Other people impacted are those folks over in Barataria, and I have someone here with me right now, Lisa Crossan, who is from Barataria, who has been helping out. Lisa, tell me what you've been doing all morning since 7 a.m.
We have been distributing supplies. We would like to thank Orange Beach United Methodist Church. They came this morning. Jennifer Hernandez hooked us up with them. They brought a van and a big box trailer full of much needed supplies to the people in Barataria because they don't have boats, they don't have cars, they can't go to the store, they can't really do anything. So we have a mud boat, we're able-bodied. We are carrying it across, going house to house, or at least to the end of a canal, to deliver that to the people that can't really get out of their home or yard.
And you've been helping out your neighbors, but you also saw some damage to your home. Can you tell me what damage you saw over there in Barataria?
We did. The mile-hour winds exceeded 150, believe it or not. It was pretty rough. It was rough to be there. We stayed because we have some neighbors that are elderly, 80. She's in a wheelchair, on oxygen, doesn't want to leave. So we took a power cord, made her a part of our generator, kept her up until we got the Atmos cut us off, and so no power, no electricity, no gas. But we've been taking care of them, got them an AC and a small generator. It's just what we can do. We're able-bodied, and we couldn't leave them to fend for themselves.
And I know you told me that with the military being here, kind of helping out, that's helped you feel a little bit more safe, feel a little bit more secure.
Absolutely. You want to feel like you're important to someone. You want to feel like help is coming. Our bridge was destroyed from a barge that broke loose during the hurricane, and it's the second time that that's happened, but this time it's very impactful because of the damage, the extent of the damage. It's every home in Barataria, especially the first level, and those that didn't have a raised home, they've lost everything.
And I know you told me from here forward you're going to keep helping every day and doing everything you can for your neighbors.
Absolutely. I know that there are more supplies and items being brought, and as boats become available, a few more mud boats here and there, as people either get them running or bring them in, they're offering to help. We're a tight-knit community.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Like she said herself, it definitely is a tight-knit community. We've seen multiple trucks driving in and out, handing each other ice and water. It really is neighbors helping neighbors out here. Reporting live in Lafitte, Jalissa Garza, Eyewitness News. Back to you.
Jalissa, thank you so much. It has been 2 days since that deadly confrontation at a Metairie gas station.
A 20-year-old man is now facing murder charges after allegedly shooting a man who called him out for cutting the line to fill up. Jefferson Parish Sheriff Joe Lapinto says Dwayne Nasaka confronted Walter Scipio. Scipio went back to his car, grabbed a gun, and shot Nasaka. That, according to the sheriff. He later died at the hospital. Nasaka did. Scipio turned himself into police a few hours later and is currently in custody.
Stay tuned with us here on WWL-TV.
And our special coverage of Ida's aftermath will continue right after the break.
Today marked 1 week since Ida's landfall, and it was also the first chance that some people could return to church for Sunday services.
And Laplace parishioners at St. Joan of Arc Catholic Church attended Sunday Mass in the church gym. The church itself was damaged. More than 100 people attended and listened to the first reading, which encouraged them to be like the people of Israel thousands of years ago, to be strong and fear not.
Archbishop Gregory Aymond was able to celebrate Mass at St. Louis Cathedral this morning. Power was restored to the cathedral and the French Quarter a few days ago.
That's right. Attendance, as you can see, super small because a lot of people aren't back yet. But this Mass is televised, and the Archbishop referenced Ida's aftermath in his homily.
In one way or another, we are all heartbroken and disappointed, whether it is for ourselves or for others who are suffering more than we are. Our pain and our loss is a true reality. Such reality is not grasped by the human mind. Nevertheless, let us not turn a deaf ear to Jesus. Let us hear him say to us this morning in this liturgy, "You are not alone. I am with you. Let me carry you as you rebuild your life, as you rebuild your home."
Pope Francis is thinking about us in Louisiana as well in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. Today he tweeted, quote, "I assure my prayers for the people of the United States of America who have been hit by a strong hurricane in recent days. May the Lord receive the souls of the deceased and sustain those suffering from this calamity."
All right, if you are in St. John Parish and need ice or water or food, the parish has set up 3 locations to help you. This video we shot today at the location in Garyville, at the Garyville Mount Airy Math and Science Magnet School. Ice and water and MREs are also being distributed from 8 to 5 daily at the Wallace Fire Station in Vacherie and at the Regala Gym in Reserve. Lafourche deputies have a message for returning residents on social media today. They said, bring everything you're going to need because supplies here are scarce. They're giving away MREs, ice, and water at the sites on your screen, but they remind you gasoline is scarce. People are waiting in line for hours for it. Deputies say in most parts of the parish, there is no power, no running water, and cell service is nearly non-existent. There's also a curfew in place from 7 p.m. until 6 a.m. and a boil water order in place and a burn ban. Also, there are no alcohol sales in the parish. Debris removal started on Friday. Just be sure to separate piles from metal, tree debris, and things like household appliances.
Stay tuned with us here on Channel 4.
We're going to have more coverage of Ida's aftermath when we return. Governor John Bel Edwards gave another update today on the progress being made following Hurricane Ida.
One of the big things people want to know, when will gas be back in full supply?
With respect to gas, I can tell you the president has taken a number of steps, all of which are helpful. His administration has waived the red dye, or issued what I should call as a red dye waiver, so that off-road diesel can be used on the road in southeast Louisiana. They've authorized access to the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and we have 2 refineries in Louisiana who have already gotten crude from the SPR pursuant to that, Exxon and Placid, and so that they can continue to make fuel. We know that he's waived the limits on the number of hours that truck drivers can drive, so that we can get more fuel trucks moving for longer periods of time. They also waived the rules around winter gas, because it's a little easier to refine winter gas and get it to market quicker. And so we're able to do that now, whereas we wouldn't have been able to do it before. But at the end of the day, this is the problem we have in Louisiana. 8 refineries went down. That's 2/3 of our refining capacity. It's 10% of the nation's refining capacity. 2 of those have come back up, but even when they come back up, it takes about a week or 10 days for the newly refined product to be ready to exit the refinery. Now, a grand total of 4 of the 8, we can at least access whatever product they had at the rack. So we can actually send trucks in there, for example, and that is happening. And we believe that the fuel situation has stabilized. It's not going to degrade further, and that from this day forward, it's just going to slowly get better. But there will be stations without enough gas, and there are people who are going to have to wait for some period of time in a line to get gas. And we're asking people to be patient and to be understanding. What happened at that Metairie service station is completely inexcusable, and that is not who we are as Louisianans. That is just not who we are. We're better than that. So the president has been helpful, but these are very difficult challenges to solve overnight. But I believe we're going to see improvement from this day forward.
Second Harvest Food Bank staff and volunteers continue working nonstop to distribute food to the people hit hard by Ida. This morning, they were handing out food at Lafreniere Park in Metairie, and you can find out how to donate to Second Harvest by going to no-hunger.org. There's also information on that website for people who need help.
And good evening. We're getting into our weather forecast now, which is including a lot of heat. No surprise, we're pretty used to that at this point after Ida. And then we do have that area that we're watching in the Gulf that will likely, it looks like, be mainly a rainmaker along the Gulf Coast. Rain, by the way, is probably going to return tomorrow. In fact, even today we had some scattered showers and storms. In fact, a big downpour over Homa. Not that Homa needed a lot of rain at this point, but we will kind of transition into a bit more scattered activity as far as the rain goes Tuesday through Thursday, and we'll have to watch in case of maybe a flooding threat at the middle point of the week as we get that surge of tropical moisture from Invest 91. So talking about the heat very quickly, today we made it into the lower 90s. Here are current temperatures ranging a little bit depending on whether you've had one of those downpours or not. Look at this. Dew points have increased into the 70s after being a bit lower over the past couple of days thanks to that low weak front that moved in. And now we're looking at our feels like temperatures again ranging a little bit, but up to about 100. So this is not a surprise for us. We know it's been hot and humid at this point in the year. Generally, heat index values tomorrow could be up to 105. And so for tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., we're used to this now. We don't have power. And so the National Weather Service is issuing these heat advisories just to remind you, once again, it's going to be hot and humid. You need to think about taking your precautions like I know you've been doing, taking breaks if you're working outside, trying to stay cool, although we don't have much air conditioning to escape into, and staying hydrated. Here is that downpour around the Hammond area. You can see that kind of just gently drifting off to the south. Also a little southward moving shower or storm right there around parts of Plaquemines Parish. Moving through the evening, our temperatures drop through the 80s. and overnight looks pretty dry. Most of our activity today and tomorrow will be sort of diurnally driven with the heating of the day, meaning mostly afternoon or early evening storms, and then quieting down for the overnight hours. And then tomorrow, highs about 91 perhaps, but we do have a little higher chance for rain, still feeling hot and humid with those winds from the west and southwest. Let me show you our precision cast, and then we'll get into what's happening in the tropics in a second. But this is tonight. You can see mostly quiet, maybe a stray shower or storm this evening. Fast forwarding into tomorrow in the afternoon, 2 p.m., some showers and storms, and here's yet another little front. So again, kind of a nice thing to see these fronts starting to at least approach our area, although you see this one is going to sort of fizzle over us. Tuesday, this is Tuesday morning, some scattered rain in the area, and then we'll fast forward through the day, 3 p.m. You can see our rain chance maybe about 60%, and we'll have to watch for a few downpours. And then this is Wednesday morning, the scattered rain once again here because of that surge of moisture, which interestingly today we're starting to see everything a little in flux with that surge of moisture associated with what we talked about earlier, Invest 91. But it's kind of interesting to see some of that moisture may stay just removed from our area. So although I would certainly let you know we're going to have at least a few downpours around mainly Tuesday and Wednesday, there is a chance that we could see some of the very heaviest rain staying just off to the east, perhaps. Still tentative because we haven't seen it develop and we haven't really gotten a good handle on what's going to happen just yet, at least a certainty. But just wanted to kind of point that out. We are anticipating rain. Hopefully we can keep some of that deepest moisture just off to the east. But here's our tropical outlook, and of course this is the one we're really worried about. Larry is a major hurricane just churning over the open Atlantic, and hopefully it looks like stays even east of Bermuda and using a lot of energy there. So we talk about ACE, accumulated cyclone energy, and that number increases with each of these storms, taking into account not only whether the storm happened, but how intense it got and how long it lasts. And Larry is one of these that will probably end up accounting for a lot of the ACE, the accumulated energy that we have so far this year for sure. And then this is, of course, the one that we're sort of watching and you may be seeing now. The chance of development has not increased. Still a pretty low chance of organizing into a depression or tropical storm Mindy, but as of today, the models are really showing not much development at all. It's kind of looking more and more like this is just going to be a system that kind of gets into the southern Gulf, surges off to the northeast, brings some rain to the Gulf Coast, but encounters not only the dry air in all the tan colors here, but also the wind shear that we've talked about with these bright colors, partially due to a trough of low pressure that might kind of be responsible for keeping some of the moisture to the east. So just watching what's going to happen. Here's the GFS model, and we're not seeing that classic circular shape, the really organized sort of tropical storm or hurricane shape, just kind of a big slug of moisture for the Gulf Coast. Now, of course, we don't need that. We have damage to buildings, we have damage to roofs. Some people haven't gotten tarps on top of their roofs yet, so not the greatest forecast, but it does look like by the end of the week, we will have another front sliding through, and that one is going to bring actually our humidity down and dry us out, maybe even as early as Thursday and then into Friday and the weekend too. So these are the main bullet points on Invest 91. Facing some obstacles in the Gulf, still bringing rain, and we'll have to keep an eye on that and look at how much rain, but it does look like a little higher chance Tuesday and Wednesday, and then look at this rain chance just dropping off at the end of the week because we're going to see that drier air move in. And again, it's a positive thing to see these fronts getting closer and closer, and in this case, even bringing our humidity and our temperatures down just a touch, again, mostly into Thursday and Friday starting, and then into the weekend too. And as we move into September and eventually October, we're going to see more of these fronts, which will be a good thing to help shield us from at least some of these tropical threats.
Crews worked this morning to save a young dolphin that got separated from its pod. Neighbors spotted it swimming in a retention pond near a levee in Slidell.
And this morning was eventful as work was done to get that dolphin back to bigger waters.
Jordan Howington from our Techna family was there.
What a sight to see. Rescue crews got into the water. It took them about an hour to get the dolphin and get him right out to safety.
Coming down here to see this dolphin that is so unusual.
Flipper is its name, a newfound celebrity in Slidell. We met Flipper Saturday, who was displaced from home during Hurricane Ida. The dolphin somehow got pushed into Slidell waters between a levee and a pump station. On Sunday, crews came to Flipper's rescue.
We come out, we're able to safely rescue the animal, transport the animal, and the best news is this animal is going right back to the ocean.
With a lot of patience and experience, rescue squads can find Flipper between large nets, bringing much relief to those watching the very unusual scene in their community.
It's a little break from the stress of the storm. Literally, some of us haven't gotten our electricity back on yet. I got mine on last night, so it's just a break from that stress.
The team of experts ultimately saved Flipper. The animal is safe and healthy. Rescuers placed Flipper into a water tank and took the dolphin to the Mississippi-Louisiana line, where it's expected to be released back into the ocean. The ending we all hoped for.
The success comes from locals, from people calling and not intervening, but letting the experts get there, give us a little time. We get these teams together, and when you do it correctly, this is what you get. You get a perfect day.
Jordan Howington, Eyewitness News.
Oh, we needed a story like that,
Good
right?
news,
Indeed.
yes.
All right, we heard from leaders in Plaquemines Parish where some residents were briefly allowed back into the area today.
They were taken in convoys to assess the damage at their homes and are being asked to leave when the convoy departs. Leaders say aside from no electricity, water is still a big issue.
I want the public to understand just because that Port Sulphur water station has a generator means we have continuous end of water. It's not true. It's what we make up here to produce to push down the road. So we have to concentrate on fixing those leaks to build up that pressure to get the water down the road. Even though we're making considerable progress on our lift stations, we continue to ask our residents to limit the water here as it's going into the sewer system. Please monitor your laundry, your facilities, your dishwasher, your bathing, your flushing issues. Don't wash your car. Don't pressure wash your house. Please help us out, conserve water. I want to give a little bit about our flood fighting efforts and our pump stations. On the East Bank, substantial progress has been made dewatering the Braithwaite area, and several streets in the Braithwaite area are now dry. However, residents are encouraged not to return until the area is completely dewatered. Please be reminded that there is no electrical power on the East Bank or water service in the area. Contractors are actively conducting levee repairs due to the scouring in the Braithwaite area today. On the West Bank, Highway 23 from Ironton just south of the Woodlawn Plantation remains flooded and impassable, not only due to the flood wall exceeding 2 feet in some areas, but also because of the extensive marsh grass and debris that lays on Highway 23. Parish crews, National Guard, and contractors are continually pumping water, clearing the marsh grass debris field from Highway 23 as the flood water continues to recede. The parish and its contractors have rocked 15 miles of the Mississippi River levee to convoy residents and relief aid to aid currently accessible areas in Port Sulphur to Venice.
Parish leaders are also asking boaters to stay out of flooded areas because several fire hydrants have been damaged by boats that don't need to be there.
Well, the eyes of the country are on Southeast Louisiana as we clean up from Hurricane Ida.
Jefferson Parish President Cynthia Lee Shang appeared on CBS's Face the Nation this morning. She spoke with anchor Weijia Zhang.
You said in a recent briefing that the dangers after the storm are just as serious as during the storm. What are the most imminent dangers you're worried about right now, and how are you coping with them?
Well, I mean, that's definitely the case. If you look at the storms that we've had in Louisiana in the past year, I think we've lost more lives post-storm. In Jefferson Parish, we only lost one life during the storm. Unfortunately, I happen to know the person, very, very tragic in Lafitte. where the waters rose very high. But then, you know, a couple days later, I feel like 2 days later, we lost 3 people to carbon monoxide poisoning. We lost another resident to a nursing home with the, you know, issue with that, with the people who evacuated. And then we also had, which is not directly storm related, but we had a fatal shooting at a gas station because we're living in a community that is just completely broken down. And people are, you know, stressed, and it's just a very fractured community right now. So that's absolutely the case. We've lost more people post-storm than we did during the storm. And we're day by day trying to put our community back together. You know, the fuel situation just hit us as a double whammy, and the fact that 8 refineries got hit. So the fuel at the source of it got hit. If this storm would have been anywhere else, and the roads were passable, we would have been shipping our gas to them. But the fact that our 8 refineries got hit right where the storm hit land was just a double whammy for us in terms of trying to rebuild and trying to make sure our first responders have fuel, our critical needs have fuel. So that was very unfortunate for us with this storm.
Well, I know the Biden administration has tapped into its emergency fuel reserve to try to help you guys out, but it sounds like that's not enough. Did you ask President Biden for more when you met with him on Friday? And what else did you ask from him?
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciated the visit, and you know, I'm so glad that he got here to see the destruction firsthand. But you know, fuel was absolutely the essential need. We talked about the assistance for our medical special needs people, because as the days go on and people were staying at home, it was getting harder and harder to kind of take care of these people. So that was great news yesterday. I was at the New Orleans Convention Center meeting DMAT teams from Rhode Island and New Hampshire, and law enforcement officers from California. It was such a bright way to start my day yesterday, to know that the most vulnerable citizens we have in Jefferson Parish will be able to send there. You know, if they can't handle a bus ride outside to a mega shelter in Bastrop, Louisiana, but they're not critical enough to be in a hospital, we have major resources right here locally that we can send our vulnerable people. And that was, like I said, a great way for me to start the day yesterday, to see all this additional resources. And I told my team, you know, when it's just the days after the storm, it's so difficult because the problems are there. We don't have the resources. We're trying to do search and rescue, save lives, but every day additional resources come in from outside, and we feel better about things. And that's been really a relief, just getting the reinforcements in from outside.
And I know that despite all of that help right now, you're still asking some people who evacuated not to come back just yet. Is that right?
Yeah, because we still have the fuel issue. You know, I was very grateful that the school systems are not starting this week. My teams, and this is my departments, we have to get the water pressure up. We're still under a boil water advisory. Our sewer system is largely dependent on it is dependent on electricity. Thank goodness, you know, all our hospitals have electrical power now. Our emergency operations center, our core, you know, of communication for first response actually lost generator power. So the electrical company got us powered up. So the critical infrastructure need to get powered up, and then Entergy's working on, you know, getting the neighborhoods back up slowly. But if you don't have fuel, you don't have electricity, water pressure is low, the sewer system is fragile, having the masses come back it's a community not ready for it. But I think as electricity comes on, every day, I think this gas situation hopefully will get better. We will bring people back. You know, all my job is to tell people this is the situation, this is the real life situation. It's up to them to make the personal decisions as to whether they want to return, if they think life's too difficult, financially, if they can stay out longer. I mean, that's an issue with the hotel bills. So we're just trying to get people accurate information for them to make their own decisions. But I really feel good about it. Every day we're going to get better and better on all of our systems across the board.
Well, Cynthia, we are thinking of you as you do that, and I'm so sorry about your personal loss. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, stay tuned with us here on Channel 4. We'll be right back.
From WWL-TV, this is continuing coverage of Hurricane Ida.
Of course, all of Southeast Louisiana felt Hurricane Ida's impact 1 week ago today, especially areas like Grand Isle.
Our Ton Trung traveled by boat to Grand Isle yesterday to give us another perspective on the widespread damage.
Our journey to Grand Isle to see the devastation by Hurricane Ida starts here in Lafitte. And this is what's greeting us here at the start of the trip.
Leaving Lower Lafitte, we see what's left in the wake of Ida. Next, we travel through Bayou Barataria. Roughly 50 minutes later, we approach Grand Isle. It's part of Jefferson Parish Councilman Ricky Template's district.
Pretty bad shape. You and I came through Lafitte to get here. I will tell you, it's emotional. It's devastation. It's sadness for the people within this community.
Then we hit the ground. Some camps, which were built under stricter building codes, held up remarkably well against the Category 4 hurricane. Others have been shredded to a shell of their old self.
It's estimated that every building on this island suffered some level of damage. 40% of the structures here were wiped clean, and the remaining 40% have to be demolished.
The superintendent of JP Public Schools traveled here to inspect Grand Isle's lone school. He's been assessing school damages in other parts of the parish. So far, there's not much that makes him confident about reopening schools anytime soon.
It's going to be tough to develop a timeline with so many variables to account for. I think our primary focus is to make sure that we get people back in safely and not rush them back in, but then at the same time, too, giving them an opportunity to assess their own personal damage.
The damage seems to worsen as we ride toward the western end of the island. The storm surge blew out patches of the so-called burrito level.
You can see how much sand was on the roadway here.
Shoving sand and water into homes, businesses, and camps, including lawn disorder. David Russo and Denise Alamond are the owners.
It was very emotional coming on the island. I've never seen it this way, and I've been close here my whole life. I grew up in La Rose, about 35 miles up the road. So we always came as children, and I'd never seen anything that looked like this.
We were here for Katrina, and Katrina was bad, but it wasn't as bad. This was really hit harder than we expected.
Despite all the devastation, they're already plotting out their future.
On Sunday, when we realized that we were pretty much going to have a direct hit, we had to have some really hard conversations.
Yeah.
But we knew we were coming back. We did.
Oh yeah, we were coming back, and we're gonna build back strong.
Before Ida, about 1,000 people lived here. And while this couple is planning to rebuild, they wonder how many of their neighbors will do the same. In Grand Isle, Ton Trung, Eyewitness News.
And yeah, go ahead.
No, you were just saying, I mean, amazing that there was no loss of life down there.
It's extraordinary, and I have to say, given what they withstood, it's amazing that they have any structures and that there is a school. And you know the people of Grand Isle and Mayor Carmondale, they're going to rebuild. They will rebuild.
Well, and I was talking to a friend in Lafitte, too, because we saw at the beginning of Ton's journey, the images from down there, and she sent me a picture of her fanning out all of the family photos on the back deck to try and save them and dry them out. And that picture just got me because, you know, you just realize how many memories are down there for so many people.
Yeah, indeed. But you know what? They will rebuild, as the rest of the areas did after Katrina. You know that. They will. Yeah. They will. Also in Jefferson Parish, the point of distribution site located at Helen Cox High School, that's been temporarily closed to allow Entergy trucks to do restoration work on the lines in that area. So there are other locations open where you can get your ice and your MREs and tarps. They're at the Ilario Center in West Wego, the Shrine on Airline in Metairie, and the Johnny Bright Playground in Metairie. As the water service is restored in Houma, officials there want you to find leaks in the system, help them do that, especially on the east side of the city. So if you notice a leak, there's a number you can call as well as a number to send text messages to. Those are both on your screen. You can also report leaks on Facebook. Just look for the page for Consolidated Waterworks District 1. Be sure to mention your location with an address or whatever details you can include. They know that many areas are still hard to reach, but officials say they will have to get tree crews to assist them. So you can include a heads up on that as well if you notice a tree issue as impacting their efforts to rebound and restore.
And help is on the way from all over. 7 Wichita firefighters were deployed this afternoon to Louisiana to assist with Hurricane Ida recovery efforts. A call was sent out yesterday requesting 30 engine companies to help with those relief efforts. Wichita is sending 2 engines and a strike team leader to help clean up. They are expected to be here in our area for about 2 weeks.
Oh, so grateful to all of those heroes who come in and help
absolutely.
us. And as we've seen, thousands of our friends, neighbors, and family are in need of food and water and shelter, the bare necessities in the wake of Ida.
WWL-TV is partnering with the United Way of Southeast Louisiana to make sure people in Jefferson, Orleans, Plaquemine, St. Bernard, St. Tammany, Tangipahoa, and Washington parishes get the help they need. And a few of our friends from the Black and Gold have joined the cause by donating and spreading the word. Take a listen.
Why give? Because we're the New Orleans Saints. And this community, this New Orleans family, is a part of us.
We give because we have to stick together in our times of need.
Why we must give is to be able to provide opportunities and resources to the people that are in need.
We're partnering with the United Way of Southeast Louisiana and WWL-TV to raise funds for Hurricane Ida relief to keep dollars local, right where the impact is needed most. Trust us, we're giving too, so we can get help to our most vulnerable families.
When I think about why give, I believe to whom much is given, much is required. And so we've all been given much. No matter how much we have more than somebody. And so the best way to help someone is to give from what you have.
So there are 3 main ways you can help. If you're able to donate, you can either scan the QR code on your screen or you can go online. You can also volunteer your time and help your neighbors directly. And you can donate supplies at North Shore and South Shore drop-off locations.
Thanks to this drive, United Way is already working with local leaders and relief organizations to get water, food, ice, tarps, and supplies out to communities. More details on how to get involved can be found at unitedwaysela.com/Ida Relief. We are turning now to sports with Brooke Kirchhoffer. We are so thankful to have her.
Right, who is new to our team here at WWL-TV. Great to have you, Brooke. And you know what, too? I want to make sure people understand that you're going to be part of our WWL team. Not we're so grateful to those who are helping us from our other Tegna stations. But you're one of us now.
Well, and she did news earlier this week.
I know.
But she's hired to do sports, so you'll see her on the sports desk from now on. Hi, Brooke.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. LSU fans were hoping to erase the 2020 season and start fresh in 2021 with a win in the famed Rose Bowl over UCLA. Well, that's what they hoped for and not what they got, as the Tigers carried many struggles over from last year into Saturday night's 38-27 loss. The most glaring concern, the run game. Ed Orgeron highlighted that they were going to have to be more efficient running the ball prior to the game. In total, they tallied 49 rushing yards as a team. Max Johnson threw for over 300 yards with a 56% completion rate. Keishon Butte on the end of 9 of those receptions. Butte actually a bright spot for LSU, pulling in 3 touchdowns. All in all, the offense just wasn't consistent throughout the game. The good thing, it's just week 1.
UCLA did a good job of just playing the run and being in the right spots, but we got to correct it as an offense, and that will be done.
First of all, we got to be more diverse. We have to have multiple runs for multiple sets, which we didn't do tonight. We got to get that fixed. It's going to get fixed immediately. We got to be more physical at the point of attack. Neither of those things happened tonight as far as what I could see. But again, I need to look at the film before I say anything about physicality, a point of attack. I just need to look at the film.
Defending the run also expected to be high priority this week in practice as LSU gets set for Game 2 back in Death Valley, facing Cody Orgeron and McNeese State this Saturday. And we'll talk more in depth about LSU and Tulane's close loss at Oklahoma tonight on 4th Down on 4. Plus, the relocated Saints get ready for a home season opener in Jacksonville. Our Saints analyst Nick Underhill joins us to break down all the black and gold moves of the last 2 weeks, and we'll head to Terrebonne Parish as LSU's freshman star Mason Smith, who's from Houma, deals with the after effects of Hurricane Ida. Join Doug, Ricardo, and myself for 4th Down on 4 after the late news here on Channel 4. Stay with us here on WWL. Back to you.
All right, Brooke, thank you so much. Stay tuned with us here, and we will have more on the aftermath when we come back. Thank you for staying with us for the coverage of the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. In total, 13 people have died in our state in the week since Ida made landfall.
And those numbers increase as you track its path to the northeast. At least 50 people died in flash floods, tornadoes, and mudslides along the way. And one of the latest deaths was a lineman from Arkansas who was here to restore power. That according to Howard Transportation.
Marley Menser was a lead driver out of their Little Rock office. He had been with the company for 17 years. He leaves behind a wife and children. We are so thankful to all of the linemen working around the clock to get our power back. We are joined now on the phone by St. John Parish President Jacqueline Hotard.
And we know that many communities there were hit so very hard by the storm. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I know it was yesterday, all the days are bleeding together. Friday when you met with the president. What did you hear from him when you were with him privately?
What I heard from him was a genuine concern for our community. I particularly thanked him and pointed out the fact that he called out insurance companies for distinguishing between mandatory and voluntary evacuations. We know that no one left this area for a vacation. And I also let him know that our immediate needs are power, water, communications, and financial assistance for those who can't return home. And we do thank them. FEMA has already begun assisting individuals with financial assistance. We know that it's difficult if you are having to pay for a hotel room or anything like that and you're on the road and away from your home. So I really thank him for those efforts and being boots on the ground. You know, seeing this up close, some of the pictures, the uprooted trees were taller than both of us. It gives a better perspective of just what we're dealing with in our community. And we're not a big, we're not New Orleans and Baton Rouge. Our resources are thinner, so we are attempting a recovery with smaller operating budgets, smaller staffs, and we're going to need more resources.
And one of the things the president acknowledged was when he went there, he realized people don't have power, they don't have Wi-Fi, and they don't have cell coverage. They have no way of knowing what help is out there. So he promised that FEMA boots would be going door to door to let people know how they can go about applying for aid. Have you seen that happen in the last 2 days?
I haven't seen them physically with my own eyes today, but we have received reports that there are FEMA individuals on the ground assisting with registration today. It's difficult to be out in the community as much because there's only so many places in town that we have good cell service, so I'm very conscious of that, but we have gotten reports that FEMA has been registering people, and there's some assistance with registering people for blue roofs. Some people think that the TARP and the Blue Roof program are the same thing. By all means, pick up a TARP at a pod site, but please still register for blueroof.us so that there can be a professionally installed blue roof UV protection on your home, and they have been assisting our residents with that as well.
President Hotar, we're now a week into this. What kind of things have you seen still now a week in as the most pressing need, the biggest need for everybody? And also, have you seen any signs of progress, any good news that you can point out to people who are in your parish right now?
Power and water, that's the biggest thing. I think we'll all appreciate electricity and water in a different way from this. We have restored water to the majority of our parish right now. That's a good sign. However, I keep reminding residents, as we build pressure, leaks are found and we lose pressure. So it can be an in and out thing, but water is a big need. And then electricity. We have gotten reports that there will be a neighborhood tonight, a small neighborhood that will have electricity, which is before all of the estimates of what we've received, that it would be September 17th before anyone received electricity. We're grateful to that. We have so many linemen out there working. We can't thank them enough. This is a dangerous job, and our parish is just full of contractors working to restore power. But those are the two most pressing needs right now, power and water for people.
And if neither comes soon, the heat is atrocious right now. It is such a factor with respect to health. Do you have plans to move people to shelters like New Orleans does at this point?
We are working on that. What we're running into is that all of our facilities have damage, and many of our school facilities have been damaged, and we are working towards mitigating that as quickly as possible so we can set up cooling zones. What we're just having some challenges with is that every facility in our parish that we could possibly do that with has some type of damage, rain and mold, and we don't want to trade one inconvenience and cause other harms. And so it has been a struggle, to say it nicely, but it has been just a struggle on finding facilities because every facility that we have in our reach is damaged.
Well, before we go, President Hotar, do you have any message for people who, I know that not a lot of people have power or cell phone service, but anyone who might be watching us, or even anybody with family members in your area who might be watching?
Yes. One, if you have an emergency, please call 911. They are conducting some wellness checks. The communication is horrible, and I know how that is when you can't get in touch with your loved one. If you need any assistance from us and you do not have internet and all of these types of things, please call our Emergency Operations Center at 985-652-2222, and we do have people here answering the phones to guide our residents. Some people just need to know, what do I do next? Where do I go next? And we are here to help as best as we can.
What percentage do you think of your parish is there?
There are many people here. I can give you a number, just of what we have still in a shelter, 375. Many people are with family and friends and they aren't here, but I was in the community just a little bit today checking on progress with linemen, and I've seen a lot of residents who are here gutting out their homes and just trying to pick up the pieces and get back to some type of normalcy. And so that is a promising thing, that people are eager to rebuild.
Given that, do you encourage them to come home, or do you want them to stay away, until we get more of the necessities in place?
I would encourage them, if they can, to wait until we get more of the necessities, just because with the heat and no water, it can be very uncomfortable. So if they can do that, we encourage that. However, we want our residents to know you can come here and check on your property and do everything that you need to do. But if you are in a comfortable, safe place, maybe waiting a little bit longer is best.
All right, Jacqueline Hotard, Parish President of St. John, thank you so much for your time. We know you're so very busy.
Yes, ma'am. No, any time to speak to the residents is time well spent.
Best of luck to you.
Thanks, you too.
We have an update tonight on a series of stories we've broken here on Eyewitness News. Since Ida hit, 12 residents in nursing homes and senior living facilities have died.
Facilities have moved residents and then moved them again as they seek better conditions, but some families still cannot find their loved ones. Erica Ferrando is following the latest for us.
Well, we learned this weekend that 5 senior citizens died while staying in their senior living facilities in New Orleans, and now hundreds of others who were at those same senior living facilities were brought to the convention center so they can be evacuated to another shelter in northern Louisiana. Those facilities that they were staying in were forced to close over the weekend. The city of New Orleans evacuated 10 senior apartment homes, 8 yesterday and 2 Friday, after post-Ida sweeps. The city was making wellness checks and deemed them unfit, ordering them to close. The 5 deaths discovered at these facilities are under investigation by the coroner's office. Of course, without power, they didn't have air conditioning, and the city said the facilities struggled to provide medical attention to their residents. The New Orleans Fire Department, EMS, and Regional Transit Authority helped evacuate the residents from their apartments to bring them here to the convention center before, of course, they're brought to those shelters up in northern Louisiana. But we also know that some of the residents had to be taken to hospitals. Others have their own transportation or are staying with family. We spoke with Councilman Jay Banks this afternoon. He went by the Flint Goodridge apartments yesterday. That's where 2 residents died. Here's what he had to say.
They had no evacuation plan whatsoever. Everybody has a business knows better. You need evacuation plan in the office, in the hallway, by the exit doors. Come on. They just left them to fend for themselves, elderly people. I am very upset. I came today to get her belongings, and they would only give her medications. They would not give her her clothes, her TV, her jewelry.
You just heard from the sister of a woman who was staying at one of those apartment complexes. She was, of course, very frustrated and upset, but we also spoke with Councilman Jay Banks. We're going to have that for you tonight at 10. You can find the list of the 10 senior living facilities on our website. For now, reporting live in New Orleans, I'm Erica Ferrando, Eyewitness News.
Erica, thank you. And the Louisiana Department of Health is releasing new information tonight about the conditions of that Independence warehouse.
As you remember, more than 800 residents from 7 different nursing home facilities, all owned by the same man, were crammed into the building to wait out the storm. And in total, 7 have now died since the facilities were evacuated. The state has since ordered them to close, but the warehouse had been evaluated before the storm hit.
The State Department of Health said in part today, quote, upon 2 in-person site visits prior to landfall, it did appear that from a facility standpoint, the minimum necessary components to provide a safe sheltering environment for a very short period of time were met. But, quote, conditions clearly deteriorated following the storm.
The state also said that residents were in varying stages of undress and were not adequately attended to. There were also piles of linens and trash on the floor and an overwhelming stench of urine and feces throughout the building. Hospitals that received the patients told the state that it was clear they had been neglected.
Moving into weather, we have had a lot of heat and humidity after Ida, and in some cases we've had a couple of downpours. In fact, we had some over some of our hardest hit areas over in portions of the kind of St. John and St. Charles parishes earlier this afternoon. A little downpour right now around Laplace. Temperatures ranging. In fact, Hammond has also gotten a shower earlier today, and that's really where we're seeing the rain right now, moving from Hammond to LaPlace. So again, where there's damage and roofs, especially with damage, this is going to be not the greatest thing, moving into a little bit more of a rainy pattern for this week as opposed to the weekend where it's been mostly kind of hot and humid as the main weather feature. But we do have a little bit of scattered rain. We'll keep our rain chance the next few hours near about 20 or 30%. And then you might enjoy that very slight break in humidity. It's almost gone, but if you are outside, want to go for a little relaxing kind of post-hurricane stress-free sort of walk or stress, reducing walk, our temperatures will be dropping through the 80s and eventually bottoming out in the 70s for overnight lows. Overnight does look mainly dry, mostly clear conditions as well. And then tomorrow is Labor Day, but around here, kind of hard to distinguish a Labor Day from a day off from a day that we're working after the storm. So our high temperatures tomorrow, 91 degrees, feeling easily like closer to 100. Our humidity will be edging up a little, and we have a higher chance for a few storms. Here's your planner on your Monday. You can see those temperatures taking off toward 90 degrees for the high, dropping off in the afternoon and evening, well, more evening and night. And then our rain chance will be there. And then, of course, we've been talking a little bit about this Invest 91L. So clearly, it is not an organized system. I mean, we have some clouds and some showers off on the northeastern side of the system, but it's not really a system right now. It's just an area of some low pressure, roughly centered over Yucatan, and notice that it is expected to drift into the Gulf. So you might have been thinking about this, hoping this doesn't develop, and it does only have a low chance of development right now. What we're thinking it probably will do, since it's going to be facing, as I showed you a little while ago, both wind shear and dry air in the Gulf, this will probably just surge some moisture, some tropical moisture into our area and bring our rain chances up. Tomorrow we'll see about 40 to 50%. Tuesday and Wednesday a little higher chance. That could climb a bit. We'll kind of see how it shapes up. However, we have another front moving in at the end of this coming week. So that will bring our rain chances down as early as Thursday perhaps, and then really make it drier and even a touch less humid by Friday and this coming weekend. Looking at the rain forecast, and this could change a little bit, but notice that the blues to purples and reds correspond to about 1 to 2 or 3 inches. So that's kind of what we're thinking right now. However, with that little troughing feature and eventually that cool front, we may see some of the heaviest totals. You can see it here in the bright reds, possibly stay off to the east or southeast of our area. So just glancing at a couple of models, and I always show these and say always when I show this, just take it with a grain of salt. This could easily change depending on what happens, but the European model is showing all the way through Friday night. We might get an inch or two of rain, and the GFS model shows roughly the same thing. So we will have to watch in case of a few heavy downpours. That really wouldn't be a great thing right now for people without power and damage and things like that. Looks like we'll have to watch for that. I mean, it is still the end of summer, so we have that to look at for our area, as we always do with these afternoon downpours that can bring a quick, in some cases, 2 or 3 inches of rain just in an hour or two. So we'll be watching for that this week, Tuesday and Wednesday. But again, it does look like it might be more of just a tropical moisture situation with some rain, as opposed to a developed system like a depression or a tropical storm. Models really are kind of backing off of that scenario, but we'll see. Larry, by the way, is out there as well, a Category 3 storm, and we've made it all the way to Larry now. The next name is Mindy and then Nicholas. And again, if we fill out that forecast, 15 to 21 named storms, that would be somewhere between Odette and Wanda. And the peak of hurricane season is coming up in about 5 days on September 10th. So we are going to be watching things for you. We'll keep you updated, but for now, just plan on some rain in the area, a little higher chance the next few days, followed by that drier air moving in for next weekend.
Hundreds of thousands of people in southeast Louisiana are still without power.
And as Danny Monteverdi tells us, Entergy says the damage was some of the worst it has ever seen. That's why there are longer delays in some areas to get the lights back on.
Yeah, that's right. This neighborhood, this stretch of Lakeview, rather, tonight is still in the dark. Potentially could be back on tonight, but it, like other neighborhoods around the city, is a bit of a patchwork tonight. Some parts have the lights on, some parts do not yet. Every resident hopes that the lights will come on sooner rather than later. Let's take a look at some video we shot earlier today of work happening. Now, the work has been going on for several days in Orleans and Jefferson parishes, and actually, I think just now the lights here literally just turned on. We hear neighbors cheering right now. So at any rate, Entergy says it's been able to assess 100% of its system. That means they can come up with a power restoration plan for every corner of this part of the state. At the peak of the outage, there were 902,000 customers without power. Tonight, 349,000 have it back, and now a few more, but that means 553,000 do not. Entergy Louisiana CEO Philip May says crews found damage far worse than expected, including more than 30,000 down power poles. He warns some of the hardest hit areas will be hardest to reach, and that could lead to people in some areas being without electricity for almost a month.
All right, I'm going to addressing the hardest hit areas. Our challenges will increase tremendously. This could affect some of the estimated restoration times for those parishes in those hard hit areas.
And now again, here you're looking live along Navarre Avenue in Lakeview. We've got some power trucks passing by, and the lights just clicked on in this neighborhood after what was a long week without it. But again, unfortunately, there are still, as you heard just a few seconds ago, hundreds of thousands of people all across southeast Louisiana tonight with their power still not restored. But little by little, as we just heard and saw the neighbors cheering here a second ago, this neighborhood, this part of Lakeview has the power back on. Hopefully tonight there will be more parts of New Orleans coming on. Hopefully Jefferson Parish will continue as well. But again, the tough part will be those outlying areas, Lafourche, Terrebonne, coastal Jefferson Parish, where it's just going to be a little bit longer because of those conditions to try to get to those areas, get it cleaned up, and get the power back on. But again, little by little tonight, power coming back on in more of New Orleans. Reporting live in Lakeview, Danny Monteverdi, Eyewitness News.
Danny, before you go, I just want to say I think it's so cool that you just happened to be there when the lights flicked back on. Tell us, like, what did you hear? Are these in the houses right next to you that this all just happened?
Sorry, Devin, say it one more time. We've got a lot of the power trucks coming by right now, and the engines are a little bit loud. I apologize. That's okay.
I was just saying I think it's so cool that this happened right as you were live on the air. So it was the homes right next to you here that just got their power back?
That's right. We were about to show you some of that video, and we heard some cheers, not surprisingly, and happened to turn around, and there you see there we've got lights on the porch here. And so again, it appears that this neighborhood, and again, sorry, there's another truck. We have a lot of the power trucks going by right now, probably kind of shutting down for the night, but you can see there are some houses across the street too with their lights on. Now, this was a part of Lakeview that just did not have its power back on last night. Most of Lakeview got its lights back on last night, some more today. This all day had not. And again, we want to make clear there are still many neighborhoods around the city like this where there are patches that are still in the dark while crews try to get the power back on. So far from a total success story right now. But again, little by little, people are getting the lights on. And again, what we heard just a few seconds ago to let us know, it was just kind of a visceral cheer from a family that was sitting outside on the porch all day in the heat.
All right, that's awesome. I'm just, you'll hear a lot of that in the coming days. Hopefully, we'll cross our fingers. Thank you, Danny.
Yeah, we are absolutely going to celebrate every victory.
Yeah, and those trucks are on a victory parade as they leave the neighborhood.
Such gratitude for them. All right, we're also going to have an update on power restoration for Cleco customers. More than 80,000 people now have electricity in St. Tammany and Washington parishes. At 6 p.m., Cleco provided an update on the places that are expected to have power by the end of the day. They're all in St. Tammany, and linemen are working today in Slidell, Abita Springs, Covington, Lacombe, Madisonville, and Mandeville.
And checking in on the outages in the Washington St. Tammany Electric Co-op, there are nearly 9,000 people without power in St. Tammany Parish, about 2,700 in Tangipahoa, and just under 1,500 in Washington Parish. These do seem to be getting fixed fairly quickly.
All right, Governor Edwards gave another update today on the progress being made following Hurricane Ida.
He once again stressed the importance of generator safety, with several deaths now attributed to carbon monoxide poisoning.
And the governor also talked about the nursing home situation after the state shut down numerous facilities facilities that evacuated residents to a warehouse where 6 people died.
Unfortunately, when you have a very, very powerful storm coming on shore, evacuations are the proper thing to do. And that's always a tough call because you're dealing with a very frail and fragile population inside these shelters. And just the act of moving them can sometimes bring about, unfortunately, deaths. And we've seen this in more disaster evacuations than not, in certain numbers and so forth. Unfortunately, I think evacuations are going to be required on occasion. The question is whether we are doing them the way that we should, and whether we're learning and incorporating those lessons learned into future evacuations and so forth. And I don't have all the answers for that right now, but what I can tell you is there were dozens and dozens of nursing homes that did evacuate and that were able to shelter their residents in shelters that proved to be hardened sufficiently and were able to house the people safely and the conditions didn't deteriorate. That is obviously not what we saw in Independence, and I know that there's an investigation going on into that now, as there should be, and we're going to see exactly what that investigation reveals. What I can tell you is any loss of life is tragic, and we need to minimize that at every turn, and that certainly includes these evacuations in these shelters.
Satellite images published yesterday show an oil slick south of Port Fourchon following the passage of Hurricane Ida. The pictures taken on Thursday show a sizable oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. The U.S. Coast Guard said yesterday the cleanup crews were responding to that incident.
We also heard today from leaders in Plaquemines Parish, one of the areas impacted most by Hurricane Ida.
Convoy started early this morning, allowing some residents to briefly return to their homes.
We did open the convoy today, but as you see, we have limited resources, and we know you want to get to your home. And we want you to get to your home, do an assessment of your home, clean out your refrigerator, get some more clothes, do what you have to do. But we ask that you come back out and the convoy comes out. Don't stay. Don't stay. And if you do stay, it's going to be pretty miserable. So it's going to be hot. It's going to not be much food. It's not going to be much gas. And if you get hurt, it might not be, you're trying to repair your home or something, and you get hurt, then there might not be a quick way to get to you. So again, we would love our residents to come back, but in a safely manner. So, and we're going to do it in a safely manner.
Stay tuned with us here on WWL-TV.
We're going to have more special coverage of Ida's recovery efforts when we return.
All right, welcome back to our continuing coverage. Of course, there is lots of weather news and recovery news, but we're going to take a little bit of a break for something else.
Yeah, we're going to talk some sports, a new season, but still some of the same problems for LSU, and those issues led to an upset loss to UCLA last night in the Rose Bowl.
I think this is Ricardo's read, so we're going to go over to him and let him take it from here.
Everyone wants to do sports. I understand you want that distraction right now, and it's a much needed distraction, so I get it. No, that's fine, Karen. Now go ahead, read my agent. No, it's fine.
I was so scared.
But Karen, no, you're right. Those issues that everyone thought was left in 2020, well, they reared their ugly head again last night in that upset loss to UCLA. And it was an upset in terms of the rankings. The Bruins were simply just the better team last night and the more physical team. UCLA beat LSU in the trenches. They outrushed them 210-49. And the Bruins D-line got the best of the Tigers' O-linemen. Plus, the LSU defense gave up 38 points in this one, around the average of the 35 per game the unit gave up in 2020, which was the worst in program history. Ed Orgeron made changes this offseason to correct those problems from last year, but it looks like it's back to the drawing board for the Tigers.
Obviously, they lost. I felt good about this football team going in. I feel bad for the guys in there, the new coaching staff. They wanted to do very good. They've been working very hard, but you look at, we had like 50 yards rushing, and they had 200-something yards rushing. They were all over the quarterback, and they made some big plays, and we gave up big plays on defense again. So those are the things that are reoccurring. We've got to get them fixed.
It was a rough Saturday for our southeastern Louisiana college football teams. There was only one team from the area to get a win last night, and that was Southeastern. The Lions forced to move their opener out of Hammond due to Ida to North Alabama's home in Florence. But that didn't matter for the 17th ranked team in the FCS polls. They win the Battle of the Lions 49-28. Harlan Hill Trophy winner quarterback Cole Kelly accounted for 4 total touchdowns, 3 passing, 1 rushing. We'll talk more college football, including Tulane's close loss at Oklahoma tonight on 4th down on 4. Plus, the relocated Saints get ready for a home season opener in Jacksonville. Our Saints analyst Nick Underhill joins us to break down all the black and gold moves of the last 2 weeks. And we'll head to Terrebonne Parish as LSU's freshman star Mason Smith, who's from Houma, deals with the after effects of Hurricane Ida. Join Doug, Brooke, and me for 4th down on 4 after the late news here on Channel 4. A much needed distraction for at least 30 minutes. We'll see you tonight.
All right, sounds good. And looking at our weather very quickly, we do have a couple of things to talk about. Of course, the heat, no surprise. And then also we've been talking about the tropics, but a couple of good things looking at that is that we're not really anticipating a big hurricane or a big developed sort of tropical system this week. In fact, if you've been seeing things about what's happening in the Gulf, we'll have a little moisture, a little low pressure area. But at this point, it looks like the chance of it organizing pretty low. But let's just get into our immediate forecast. Our temperatures right now in the upper 70s, depending on who got the rain most recently. Laplace, unfortunately, some of these harder hit areas over kind of on the western side of our viewing area. Hammond, Laplace, spots around Houma. These are the areas that have gotten some of the downpours today. So as we move past sunset tonight, we'll be looking for things to kind of calm down, and not a whole lot of widespread rain is out there, but you might have an individual storm that could bring a quick maybe half-inch or so of rain, maybe a bit more in a few spots. 70s expected north and south of Lake Pontchartrain tonight. Mostly clear skies eventually. And then tomorrow will increase the rain chance to near 50%. There will be another heat advisory for those feels-like temperatures around 100 to 105. The air temperatures will likely top out around 92. And that was our high at the International Airport today, 92, just a touch above average by a couple of degrees. And then yesterday it was 93. So we have had a hot but very slightly less humid weekend. Let me show you our high resolution model heading into tomorrow. Interestingly, we will have a trough of low pressure and a little surface cool front approaching tomorrow and kind of washing out near us as we get into early week. We have another one coming at the end of the week, which I'll show you in just a second. But tomorrow, this is noon on Labor Day. Again, kind of hard and hazy to distinguish days and certainly holidays from regular days right now. But tomorrow is Labor Day, and it does look like we will have a couple of downpours here and there. Notice a little more around when you look at our radar map than we've had the past couple of days. So be prepared. I know it's really hard. People have damage to their houses. Some people need tarps to put on top of damaged roofs and things like that. And it does look like tomorrow will begin a little higher rain chance at near 50%, and we'll keep it high Tuesday and Wednesday. This is 5 p.m. tomorrow. Most of this activity will be calming down, moving through the evening. But even at midnight, our model hinting at just a little bit of spotty rain. Look at these average highs. We're into September now. Our average high for the month is 88. And just kind of rest your eyes on that October, the average high 80 degrees. And eventually November, it seems so far right now. But we are going to get eventually to the end of hurricane season, which ends at the end of November, although the peak day is September 10th in about a week. But after that, we will see our temperatures and our tropical activity both dropping. So welcome thought, I think, for a lot of us right now. In the tropics, by the way, Ida completely finished. Someone asked me that recently. It's not really an organized system at all anymore, although it did, of course, cross over to the northeast. We have, at this point, the only active areas really Hurricane Larry, and then, of course, Invest 91 near the Gulf. And here's Larry's path. So no concern really for this to get near the U.S., and probably not even land at all. The only thing is that Bermuda is in this general area, but it may still stay off to the east of Bermuda. But it is a strong storm, a major hurricane, and it really has nothing to stop it for a while. So we'll be talking about Larry for a while, but again, thankfully staying over the open waters, curving around some high pressure there. Here is what we've been talking about. A little spot called Invest 91L. It is not developed, and looks like, according to models and kind of what we're seeing in the Gulf this week, it will only have a low chance of development. But let me show you what's happening here. It probably will just bring some rain to the Gulf Coast. And interestingly, it might even stay with the deepest surge of tropical moisture, possibly just off to the east of us. That's what this model at this run is hinting at. And then here's a little front moving in at the end of the week. And interestingly, here's our dew point temperatures. Look how much they dive off Friday and into next weekend. So we've been talking about this weekend currently, very slightly lower humidity over the past day or so, but it might be much more noticeable with this next front at the end of this coming week. Of course, needless to say, we'll watch Invest 91. We'll let you know, but I would just plan on maybe a couple of inches of rain, possibly a bit more Tuesday and Wednesday associated with that.
Well, there have been so many of these over the last few days. Here is another story of people in Louisiana stepping up to help. This time, it is a group from central Louisiana that needed help last year during Hurricane Laura. Shelley Neely cooked meals for the Louisiana Search and Rescue Task Force 9 based in Tangipahoa, and they helped gut her destroyed home.
Now, before Ida even hit, Shelley got in touch to say she was coming to repay the search and rescue team. And on Saturday, she arrived with that help, bringing 500 meals, plus cleaning supplies, chainsaws, water, and more. As they said in the Facebook post, a family was created among Task Force 9, Shelley and the community.
Oh, I love these stories. They never get old. I love them, Karen.
It is Louisiana, right?
Oh, through and through. Well, thank you all so much for joining us for our special coverage of the aftermath and recovery from Hurricane Ida.
All right, we're going to have much more tonight on the Sunday edition of the Eyewitness News at 10, followed by Fourth Down on 4.
Have a great night, everybody.